A reading from the letter to the Hebrews. Brothers and sisters, faith is the realization of what is hoped for, and evidence of things not seen. Because of it, the ancients were well attested. By faith, Abraham obeyed when he was called to go out to a place that he was to receive as an inheritance. He went out, not knowing where he was to go. By faith, he sojourned in the promised land as in a foreign country, dwelling in tents with Isaac and Jacob, heirs of the same promise, for he was looking forward to the city with foundations, whose architect and maker is God. By faith, he received power to generate, even though he was past the normal age, and Sarah herself was sterile, for he thought that the one who had made the promise was trustworthy. So it was that there came forth from one man, himself as good as dead, descendants as numerous as the stars in the sky, and as countless as the sands on the seashore. All these died in faith. They did not receive what had been promised, but saw it and greeted it from afar, and acknowledged themselves to be strangers and aliens on earth. For those who speak thus show that they are seeking a homeland. If they had been thinking of the land from which they had come, they would have had opportunity to return. But now they desire a better homeland, a heavenly one. Therefore, God is not ashamed to be called their God, for he has prepared a city for them. By faith Abraham, when put to the test, offered up Isaac, and he who had received the promises was ready to offer his only son, of whom it was said, "Through Isaac descendants shall bear your name." He reasoned that God was able to raise even from the dead, and he received Isaac back as a symbol. The word of the Lord.
Our second reading for this Sunday comes from the letter to the Hebrews. We are reflecting on the theme of focusing on God even when God does not appear, or we do not see God. Remaining connected with God even when our sight fails. And in the first reading, we see the example of the Jews. They were awaiting God in this dark night when it was promised that the angel of death would pass, but will spare the Israelites. Their hearts saw God, even if their eyes were still waiting to see the fulfillment of the promise. And that is faith. Faith is the theme of the second reading. According to the letter to the Hebrews, faith is the substance of things that we hope for. Faith is the assurance concerning what we hope for. Faith is the conviction about things we do not see. So, here we find the contrast between what we see and what we believe. So people can be connected with God in faith even when our eyes do not see yet the physical fulfillment of what God has promised. In the second reading, we have the figure of Abraham presented to us. Abraham, who is called the father in faith. And also the figure of this great woman, the wife of Abraham, Sarah. Both these persons were promised by God. Grand promises, which any human being in his or her right mind will see right away as quite absurd or impossible. If I were Abraham, I would be tempted to say, Lord, thank you for your beautiful words, but I know I will not see the fulfillment of your words. Like having a child or having so many children. In fact, Sarah even laughed when she heard that promise. But look at what these two persons presented to us. Examples of faith. According to the letter to the Hebrews, Sarah especially thought that the one who had made the promise was worthy of trust. Even if the words seemed absurd, even if the eyes have not yet seen what is promised, the heart sees God and knows that God is worthy of my trust. So the heart remains connected with God, even if my eyes have not yet seen what I want to see. And as the second reading progresses, we are told that our fathers and mothers in faith really have not seen fully the fulfillment of the promises. Even Moses saw the promised land only from afar. Moses was not able to set foot on the promised land. They were not able to engage in physical seeing or experiencing. Yet, these people lived by faith. Faith in God. And even if they do not see what was promised, even if they are not able to set foot on the promised land, in their hearts, they are connected with God. Nothing, even the absence of sight, would prevent them from being linked with God in a relationship called faith. And so, they remained attentive to God in their hearts. They remained open to the action of God in their hearts. Their third eye, as it were, the eye of faith, was always open, waiting for God in the relationship called trust, called faith.